Hey, hello, hi, welcome in. My name is Patrick. This is the Irafish. Hopefully today I won't be on for too long. I got a video I want to watch, and I got to do it before noon. Um, it's kind of sort of an experience when your fave readers like only upload at the top of the month. You're like, I want more content. But at the same time, it's like I don't need this many cards either. So I don't know. Some people I just enjoy watching. Is that weird? Like there are some people I'm subscribed to, not too many, but it's like their readings hardly ever resonate for me. But I just love how they read, or I just like watching them, or I like their energy or something. So I'll watch, like even though I'm like this probably isn't gonna resonate for me. Um, but then they have their time when their messages start to hit. I'm like, sometimes it pays to be not early to the party. I had a super weird dream last night. At first, it started cool. It was like such an interesting and good dream at first. And then by the end of it, people change. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to take them out. It's like someone inherited a gift from someone else. And at first, they were themselves, but then by the end of the dream, they were consumed by the gift. So they had to be dealt with. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I thought this one was going to be different. He seemed like he was just so still himself. But by the end of the dream, it was like, nope, 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 nope. Okay, let's see. I just want to pull a few cards. Ooh, maybe I should have a light on them. Is this? Oh no, it's not. Oh, it's face down. Okay, party. Wait. Oh, these came out face up. So the Five of Wands and the Strength card. Strength is in reverse, and I'm pretty sure this deck is all upright. Five of Wands and Strength in reverse came out. My left ear is feeling a little warm, but that's fine. Uh, and it's so interesting because in the end of the dream, it was like I was basically at the end of it, I was basically watching it like a movie. I've got something in my eye. So I see this girl, and she's like, but, and then I see the dude who inherited the gift. And at first, he looked like himself, and then he came up, and then he was just consumed by it. And so there was another dude who was like, "Oh, I just got a spike. I just got a reading," and I was like, "Oh," I was like, and it's like at this point I was watching it with somebody, which is weird because I've never watched a dream with somebody else. Usually, like if I'm watching a dream, it's just me. Like I can watch. It's like a movie. Y'all know. Well, some people dream different. So I've had some dreams where like I'll watch the whole dream like it's a movie, and then it'll start from the beginning, and I'll be in it. And it's like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. So let's do this. Now, one time I did that. One time I knew what happened next. And they was like, oh, so you think you're clever. And I was like, ooh, I didn't see this part. Because when you change things, it's like dreams are, some of them are dynamic, right? And so your presence has an impact on the flow of the dream. Now, I've also had recurring nightmares back in the day that would get more and more and more complicated. It would be the same scenario with the same situations, but they would be like more and more complex and harder to solve. It's like when I got used to it when it was easy, then dream was like, okay, well, we need to kick up the difficulty. But anyway, usually when I'm watching a dream, there's no dialogue. like me as a viewer, like if I'm watching a movie, like if it's in a theater, the theater is silent. But last night I was like, wait, is the reading that he picking up on that one person? And then somebody else was like, yep. And I was like, oh my gosh. So by the end of the dream, he got consumed by the gift and he had to be taken out. Right. I was like, well, certainly it's not because of what he's down there doing right now. And it's like, yeah, it's exactly because of what he's down there doing right now. And we got to stop him before before he crosses a line. And it was like the dream seemed so normal up until the end of the dream. And then it was like, whoo. Anyway, Five of Wands and Strength in reverse. Maybe this is just like, I'll say this is about the dream. This Five of Wands is in the shape of a pentagram. I think the pentagram is when the point is pointing downwards. So it's a pentagram. And y'all know the pentagram is usually symbolic of, some gnarly stuff. But if the Five of Wands is in reverse, then it's a pentacle. And it's good. Upward pointing, because this point, they say, I've read it before, because I was like, what's the difference between a pentacle and a pentagram? When the point is pointing upwards, this is the point of spirit. So when you have the pentacle, it's like it's putting spirit before everything else. But when you have the pentacle, right, getting into the perception of how things were. So, and then we have the strength in reverse. I feel like this is someone getting consumed by their challenges. Um, it's causing someone to act in ways that they're not necessarily proud of. And like us humans, that's fine. And just as any creature that is non perfect, it's fine. But, excuse me, we can't always allow ourselves to be so wrapped up and consumed with the situations at hand that we completely step outside of ourselves. We can see those as opportunities to step into ourselves more fully. And then we see the star sort of sandwiched between the sun and the moon at the top of this pyramid. Y'all may not be able to see it, but oh yeah, y'all can see the lines. See? The top of the pyramid is invisible. The tip we don't see. Because you see the downward pointing triangle behind the moon, that's water. That's fire with the sun in the middle. And then the intersection of fire and water is kind of sort of blacked out. It's interesting because that's blacked out. Oh, it's like it pushed it up. Okay. So yeah, that's what's happening. And the strength card is in reverse. So with this Five of Wands, what we have is this conflict, right? And so when we do strength the right way, we get that shape that they call like a Merkaba. I don't know what it's called. It's like hexagonal, something, 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 right? You get the upper is pointing triangle and the downward is pointing triangle, and they're put on top of each other. That shape. But it's like the sun, this masculine energy came in, and when it was supposed to meet this feminine energy coming down, it's like it pushed the point of that tip up and folded it back on itself. So she may need to go to the hospital because that looked like a broken hand to me, or a broken foot. When you see those clips of athletes and like somebody foot just go like that back on they, like when it roll up on their leg, I'm like, girl, I can't do this. It's giving me those vibes. Let me calm down a little bit because somebody's still asleep because she don't know how to go to bed at night. But the star is also up there with the moon, and so another way to see this could be this solar energy. This is what do you call it? Conception. Conception is when you get pregnant, right? So this solar energy is coming in to this feminine energy and it's injecting it with its light. And that's why you get this little star in the womb of the moon. So 9 months from now, this is going to go up right, and then this new sun will pop out from the womb. Or Since it's in reverse, maybe this new sun is already being birthed. Because, like, upright, I guess I typically read from top to bottom. From top to bottom, it would be dropping the seed, but from bottom to top, it's like this star is going to be navigate whatever these situations are. We need to keep our spirit above everything else. Right. And it's kind of sort of like integrity. Because otherwise we're going to be consumed by it, just like the dude in the dream, and then we're going to have to take you out. Because it's like when you have abilities on that level, you can't just lose your cool and like blow up on anybody. Like, and that's kind of what happened. Like there was this girl who it's like he gained the power, but he lost his heart. And so there was a situation where he should have been understanding, but he couldn't find the understanding within himself. And it was at that moment that he was about to cross the line that he was just like completely consumed. And it was kind of gross. Not like completely disgusting, but it was like, oh. The card that came out face down is the Wheel of Fortune, believe it or not. Someone's going to be passing the spear torch thingy. But you see all those thorns on it? Thorns are restrictions in this deck. And you also see the wings. Now, the wings are held on by thorns. It's like they're jetpacked or strapped on like a backpack by these thorns up there. And then we see that up there with this sort of circular thing coming out of it. And even though, I mean, it's kind of giving me this like crowning energy, I guess, right? But this baby is coming out feet first. Ooh, y'all know it's dangerous when they do that. I think it's coming out feet first. Um, so that's why we have to be extra careful right now. Because when you come out, so to come out of this feet first means that you're going to hit the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. The root, the sacral, and the solar plexus are going to be exposed to the world before the heart, before the throat, before the third eye, and before the crown. Specifically, before the heart and the third eye, and the throat and the crown. Before all of them, because they're all important. So what happens is you get the sacral and the solar plexus coming out first, and so it's like in some ways you're kind of getting the gift before you're getting the knowledge on how to use it. And the heart is so important because again, that's what the dude in the dream was lacking. There was a moment he was tested on whether his heart was able to stand, and whether his heart could compete with the level of power that he had gotten, whether his heart was up to par with the gift. Because if they're not on the same level, you're going to be consumed by the gift. And we need to be heart led because there are certain things that you can't do with certain gifts. But with free will and free choice, it's like even if someone's Mother Teresa, if you give her, they say absolute power corrupts absolutely. I don't believe that, but that's what people say. And so it's like, and they also say opportunity makes a thief. I don't believe that either, but it's what people say. So it's like, given the circumstances. Now, when it comes to opportunity, I'll say like if opportunity, I would say like there's a difference between necessity makes a thief and opportunity makes a thief. Opportunity makes a thief is like, well, if you leave $100 just sitting there, somebody's gonna take it and they're not gonna turn it in, right? I don't necessarily believe that, but it's like if someone is like literally starving and they see some money, or if someone is literally starving and you're eating there, like they might snatch a sandwich out your hands to feed themselves, to eat, to survive, right? Necessity makes a thief, sure. Opportunity, you was a thief already. If you just waiting for an opportunity to do something bad, you're probably a bad guy. Like, sorry. And honestly, kind of sort of like I'm not necessarily, I am, but I'm not necessarily in that. Well, there is no like labels. This isn't directed at anybody in particular. This is just my general generic voice. There are no labels. Like there is no good, there is no bad. There's no this, there's no that. I'm not like I understand that, yes, because everything is relative, but at the same time, there is more heart centered and then there's less heart centered. There's more compassionate and then there's less compassionate, right? And so to do something less compassionate, I'm not going to say it's evil or bad, but it's less compassionate. It's not as in that heart space. And I feel like, oh, I really should have moisturized my face because I just showered and it just like stripped all the moisture. The little bit that I actually had because I ain't put on lotion in who knows how long. I don't go nowhere. Even though, my skin would appreciate it. So I'll probably put some on after this. Also, I need to get some new lotion. So anyway, it ain't about that. It's about this. Um, because that's what this is. That's what happened in the dream. It's like you can argue that there's no good and there's no bad. Yes, because everything is relative. But it's like when we talk about oneness and when we talk about the splintering and the fracturing of prime source creative energy, I think there's a few reasons why duality exists, right? And duality, when taken to extremes, could lead to polarity. And again, I know it's semantics, but to me, like duality is just the dual nature of things in and of itself. Polarity is when we start to extreme or when we start to pull duality to extremes where we get this pole versus that pole, right? North pole, South pole, instead of just the whole magnetic bar, right? The magnet, to me, the magnet is duality, North pole, South pole is polarity. So duality is a thing for many reasons, and it kind of sort of doesn't always go away. Polarity is something that we don't necessarily have to mess with. But, they say if source splintered and fractured itself to experience many different experiences, maybe source wanted to have a few incarnations where it could be a villain. And because it's a villain in a few incarnations, it has an opportunity to be a hero or to be several heroes in other incarnations, right? That's why I'm like yes, but no. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot, but in my reality, we don't need no villains. Does that make me a hypocrite? I don't know. But anyway, why was I getting into that? Yeah, because there are certain things that you can't do with some gifts. Um, and in the dream, he had to be taken out. Now, with this Wheel of Fortune, we may be getting a little bit, like I said, it's like it feels like a passing of a torch. And so we may be getting a little bit more than what we bargained for. But with this torch being passed feet first, it's almost like I'm going to give you a little bit of this and I'm going to see what you do with it. Right. And then, when you do well with this bit, I'm going to give you a little bit more. And then I'll give you a little bit more. And then I'll give you a little bit more. And then I'll give you a little bit more. And eventually she'll be out. Now, this birth seems a little painful. Like, if you look at the beginning, it's like it's fairly easy, right? But then you hit the thorns, girl. And I don't even want to picture that. I'm picturing it now and it looks grotesque. It's not as extreme as it would have been because I'm partially blocking it out mentally. But then you hit them thorns and you got to push it out. Oh, stop. Oh. Sorry. Now, when it comes to the wings, I'm not sure. And look at all those thorns. It's like the closer you get to the wings, the more compact these thorns are. Like, look at all them thorns up there in the wings. Okay, maybe I went too close. All those thorns up there in the wings. At least down here, you get a little bit of a break. It seemed like. Is this also a snake? Yeah, there's also a snake up here. I didn't even realize it. There's a snake inside the halo. Hmm. Snakes are also movement. I already didn't put the thing. The card is in the deck. Snakes are also movement, but there's something else as well. Snakes could be transformation because they shed their skin. Snakes could also be the energy of not misrepresentation, but like misunderstandings, right? Something typically seen as something that it isn't. But it's like before you get to the wings, you have to pass that snake. And so not only are there thorns, but there are also trials along the way. Now that snake, I believe it's either at the heart or it's right after the heart. It's already been 20 minutes. Oh my gosh. It's either at the heart or right after the heart. And if it's right after the heart, it may be between the heart and the throat. Hold up. Hold up. We don't necessarily have to tie this to chakras. Let's take the trying to lock it down out of the equation. It seems like there's going to come a point in time where you're going to have to boss up. But in order to boss up, you're going to have to face a great trial. Now, this could be a great trial in your life in any manner of ways, but it's probably going to be a test of heart, right? Once you've reached a certain level, it's natural that you come into a certain energy of understanding and therefore compassion. And then there may be a test of your compassion. It's like, are you going to make a compassionate action or are you going to make an incompassionate action or an uncompassionate action or an inaction? Now, there may be a compassionate inaction and an uncompassionate inaction or a compassionate action or an uncompassionate action. But compassion, it's one thing to have compassion, it's something else to act in alignment with that compassion. And to act in alignment with that compassion, it's going to be the key to having this snake let go of its tail. And then once this snake lets go of its tail, you come into the wings and the top and that pretty little jewel up there. And that's when you prove that you are grounded enough to begin to turn the wheel of your own accord or on your own accord. Bottom of the deck is this the Five of Swords? Nope, it's the Four of Swords. Four of Swords. Now, do I have reversals in here? Or is the deck? Oh my gosh, I have reversals in here now. How did I get reversals? How did I get reversals in here? Girl, we got reversals now. When the decks do that, I have to honor it. So I have to honor it. So it's actually the Four of Swords in reverse. Now, the Four of Swords has a clock on it. You see the clock down there with the Four of Swords. And then there's lots of like threads and stuff up here. And is that more thorns? Hold up, let's get in there. Yep, looks like it. There's no, those are just threads. There's no thorns. So we got these threads. Thread speaks to fate, it speaks to destiny. And it's like yours has been tied up. These are cobwebs. There's crystals growing on this thing, on these swords. Well, the crystals are coming out at the hilt. I actually only see two swords. There's a bone, there's a huge bone. I think bones speak to experiences or growth or something else like that, girl. I don't have the thing. And I was trying to see if maybe the last two swords were like the hour and the minute hand on this clock, and they might be because I don't see them nowhere else on this pocket watch. I've always wanted a pocket watch, but with this Four of Swords in reverse, I feel like it's been time. And like what's most prominent is this two swords. So indecision sitting on top of this broken bone. So maybe it's like there's some way that we're blocking our own healing. The last two swords, who know where they are? Who knows? Maybe they're in that. Maybe they're not. I think they may actually be. I think those might be the last two swords in there. So if the last two swords are in there, then it's like your indecision is what's causing things to stop and be paused here. And it's funny because we have the Wheel of Fortune right here, right? And a lot of times we say that the Wheel of Fortune turns on its own accord, and it does, but there's also this mirroring of what we prove that we're ready for with our words and deeds and actions, and then what the corresponding divine time is, right? It's like every second is an action. Every second is a no, every second is an action. Every minute is a thought, and then the actions and thoughts together create divine hours. And it isn't until we have a certain amount of actions and thoughts that align with whatever this particular clock is ticking on to allow that to happen, right? So if we're stuck in indecision ourselves, and if we never do anything, then the clock up there never does anything. And so it keeps this paused. It keeps it locked in stasis, chronostasis. Kronos is Saturn, is he not? And he is a retrograde right now in Capricorn with Jupiter, which is Zeus. They say that, Zeus castrated his daddy. When Kronos was ruling things, there weren't any laws because it was the golden age, right? Like we didn't need laws because people weren't doing things at that point. It wasn't until, Zeus came in, got rid of Cronus, then it's like now we start needing laws. Now the guys have human characteristics, and they're getting people pregnant, and they're mad, and they're angry, and they're jealous, and they have just as temperamental as folks, but with more power. So it's like, and with immortality and with all that power, they never really have to grow or develop or mature because there's no reason or motivation to. Anyone who could stand against the gods was like locked up in Tartarus. Right. So they never had to grow and mature. So it's like they're overpowered children, basically, and they do what they want when they want without any fear of repercussion or consequences. And we can't have that here. So it's like, yeah, that whole system, not going to work. We need to know that people aren't going to misuse and abuse these abilities. And, if you get a little ability and if you think you're about to misuse or abuse it, you may have another thing coming. Potentially, I don't know. Again, right? This, I don't know. It's a dream. Take it as it resonates. But I do like it. Also, I was like, yeah, I need to like get back into my heart because I got this Queen of Swords coming out as a challenge, and she low cold. I ain't trying to be I don't think I'm ever like uncaring and uncompassionate. I just think that sometimes I don't take into account how difficult some stuff is and histories and stuff like that. Also, I'm not the type of person who's really had a lot of ties to certain things. And so it isn't really for me to be able to understand. Um, but maybe when I meet up with my other half, maybe they know what it's like to have ties to certain things and they'll be able to balance me out so I'm not just overly critical and not as compassionate. But at the same time, it's not to need anyone to balance you out either. So, and the energy of compassion and empathy can transcend those boundaries of experiences. So, I do try to tone it down a little bit. I'm about to be having another. Oh, there's the Four of Wands. I was like, is that the back of the card? The Four of Wands with the Wheel of Fortune. Doo-doo-doo-doo. There's the Four of Wands, y'all. Here's the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, let's see what comes out. this will be the last thing. I just wanted to. I like coming live for some reason. It gives me something to do. Also, it allows me to tap into like, excuse me, certain energies and situations and speak on it. So even if I don't consciously know of someone going through a situation like that, just to be able to pick up on the energy, speak on it, try to process it, and then put another idea out there or another perspective or another potential way of approach out there, right? Whatever we put out, it kind of sort of floats, right? So maybe it'll float to someone who needs it, especially if it's like actually helpful. Because I'm like, I upload like nearly daily. That's a lot of cards, and we're gonna take them. I upload nearly daily, like lengthy videos, and I'm one second. I'm in the space now where I can do it because I want to. And because at least part of me feels called to. And so it's like, why not? Girl, I thought this was the Five of Pentacles again. Ooh, I thought this was the Four of Swords again. Oh, it's the Nine of Swords. The Nine of Swords upright. So remember when the baby was coming out feet first, and so we were going to hit the lower three chakras before we hit the upper three chakras? Well, these to me symbolize at least the upper two. The upper two and a half. Excuse me, because we got the top jaw. If y'all can see it, y'all see the skull? Hold up. Let me get it in there. Okay, yeah. Y'all see the skull? We get the top jaw. The bottom jaw is on the Six of Swords, I believe. But it's three up there. Hold on. Is it four up there? Yeah, it's four up there. It's three down here. And then two through the eyes. Or two through the bottom of the. No. Where did they go? Two behind the skull. There are lots of twos here. There's one. Oh, that's what that is. Last time I was like, is that like a little crown or something? Girl, these swords are piercing. But that's only one. Oh, because then it's the two from the bottom. Oh my gosh. So we have the one sword that runs by itself through the top, and boom, it comes out right up there. We have these two swords that go in through the eye holes, and then they come out with the other 2 points at the top. We have these two swords that line up on each side that pierce the eyes, then this one sword that pierces the eyes from the bottom, and then these two swords down here that cross this sword that runs through the whole thing. And we also have a skull. The skull is about transformation, right? And so, or death or transformation. And this is like like an ego death, like a mental death, like the death of an old program or the death of a new program trying to come in that you hit delete every time this new program tries to come in. Delete, delete, delete. You never give it an opportunity to install. And so it's like you're not grounding whatever this new thing is in your life. Give me one moment, y'all. I will be right back. I hope I didn't give anybody vertigo when I did that. Donna's birthday is tomorrow. I have some neighbors and their birthdays are like a week apart. They're siblings. And so one of them is a Cancer and the other one is a Leo. Maybe that's why he's like that. Because he's so close to that Cancer cusp. And he's like, no, I take that back. No, he's a Sag. He's one of the the nicest. Like I would say, there's a lot of people we kind of sort of perceive, not we, but some people kind of sort of perceive Leo energy in a negative light as very egoic and proud and stuff like that. But the good of what Leo can be, I see a lot of it in him. Very compassionate, very tender, very caring, very kind. And that's all I got to say about that neighbor. So, back to this. We got a lot of twos. We got two here, two here. These two separate, but they cause it two. Actually, there's so instead of twos, we'll give it threes. So there's two swords in from the top of the eye and one sword in from the bottom on both sides. And we typically have more lashes on the top of the eye than we do on the bottom of the eye, right? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. And then before we even get into the skull, we have this three. So there's this three of swords down here going on in the body, and then there's six of swords going on up here in the mind. Now the six of swords in the mind is an energy of liberating the head, right? But it's like this skull is pretty much fixed in place by this three of swords over here and this three of swords over there. Now this could be a past energy, or it could be a present energy. But with the left eye, that's like the left eye sees into the past, the right eye sees into the future. But there's three swords on both sides. Now, what I would interpret this as is left eye dominant vision, right? It's like we look at the past and then we're allowing the past to come into the future instead of using the energy of the skull to transform it and to heal it, right? And it's what's so interesting is in this skull, we have six swords, which should be movement and freedom and liberation. But with the three swords that come in from under it, it locks it in place, right? And that's why, it's pierced at the top by those three swords. And so, whatever this heartache, whatever this misaligned action was, it's piercing our crown. It's keeping us from receiving fully the information that we need to get to where we want to go. And this is why, with this overall Nine of Swords energy, we're just kind of sort of stuck, mentally stuck, to the point where it's sort of keeping us up at night. And the point of keeping us up at night is it's preventing us from getting any rest, right? The nine is the four and the five. The five of swords is conflict. The four of swords is rest. And so when we try to enter those periods of rest with that four, in flies this other five, and then we can't stay up because our mind is racing, or because we can't perceive of how we got here, or we can't perceive of how to move forward, or we're looking at the actions of the past and not allowing ourselves to move on into the future because of that three of swords holding this transformation in place from the bottom, right? And I think that's the reason why our eyes are being pierced. It's because with the three of swords at the crown, it comes down and we see it in our vision. But the three of swords in the crown is a result of the three of swords from not even in the skull again. So maybe some self forgiveness needs to be done here, and forgiveness in general. Yeah, I'm gonna end it after this. After I get a final card. And then here's some more swords. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is so cute. This is the Six of Swords. Let's see if y'all can see. Y'all see that bottom jaw? It's in reverse, so I'll hold it up right. There's the bottom jaw. Y'all see the row of teeth? Can y'all see that? I think y'all can see it. There's the bottom jaw to the skull. I said it's in the Six of Swords, and here it is. There's the top of the skull and the Nine of Swords, and then here's the bottom of the skull and the Six of Swords. But we zoom in on the bottom of the skull, so it looks a lot bigger over here than it is over here, which means that speaking something is our biggest hang up, right? If we can speak whatever it is to set ourselves free, then that'll also set the crown free and it'll get us moving forward. Like with that Four of Swords, like the indecision or an inaction that's being had. Can you have an inaction? Sure. That inaction is keeping you stuck down here, but it's also keeping the grand clock stuck as well. So whatever you have that's supposed to come in and bless you, whatever's supposed to change, It's not going to happen until you speak it, right? Um, and it's giving me White Wind vibes, and I don't know what's in White Wind or when White Wind is going to come back in the Mayan calendar, but it's very White Wind. It's the tongue. Things that cannot be spoken can't be granted access to, right? It's almost like in Harry Potter, they couldn't defeat Voldemort until they spoke his name, right? Because until he came back, he was the one who shall not be named, right? And then that's when they found out about the Horcruxes and all the other stuff. I saw the movies once, okay? I did my due diligence once I was in college, and my mom wasn't there to tell me that I couldn't watch Harry Potter. And I wasn't going to read it at that point because them books was around. But that's what I'm getting with the Six of Swords in reverse. Was it upright or was it in reverse? I think it was also in reverse. Yeah, because I had to turn it upright so you could see. That is what's causing this lack of movement. It's like we're not speaking it. Girl, I was just there we go. There we go. That's a nice angle. And now all these swords are pointed downwards and those two are crossed pointing upwards. When this way they're all pointing upwards and there's a cross up here. So it's like, I don't know, it feels like we're being silenced for some reason. Either we're silencing ourselves or we're allowing something else to silence us. But until we speak that, this transformation won't be complete and we'll be Nine of Swords stuck. Now, enter. Girl, are all these in reverse? No, just the majority. Okay. Now, enter the Lovers. Is this the Lovers? Girl, the Lovers in reverse. So, I mean, it's not making this choice. As long as this choice continues to be unmade, as long as this action remains untaken, as long as whatever this truth is unspoken, it's going to prevent everything from happening. It's like the rest of your life is on hold. And I'm kind of sort of getting the feeling that there are some things that remain hidden. And it doesn't have to be motives, but it's like there's information that has not yet been made clear or something like that, potentially for some of y'all. And so it's like without, or someone feels like there's information that isn't made clear. So it's like before I say anything, I want more information. Before I say anything, I want more information. But I found personally, and this is just who I am extremely personally, I know that sometimes if I'm just thinking something, I won't catch the mistake. But when I start to speak it, I'll hear where it is. And it's almost like because I'm involving more senses, even though it is still a conversation happening within myself. If I speak it and if I involve more senses, it's more filters and more gateways for information to pass through. And so it's more like it checks it again and again and again. I think it, that's a check. I speak it, that's a check. I hear it, that's a check. And usually, when it comes to the gate, for me, when it comes to the gate of hearing, that's when I can catch it. It's like, wait, something doesn't sound right. And then I'm like, oh, that's because this, and that. Right. So sometimes I talk to myself. Right. Sometimes I talk to myself. um, oh, snap. Oh, well, here comes Justice. I was like, oh, it's an Ace of Swords. Out comes Justice. And y'all see them two little crescent moons, one of them empty, one of them full. Right. I feel like Justice is the energy of like, you know, everything you need to, and then there's that gosh darn third eye. So in the dream, I wasn't going to talk about it, but in the dream, there was this person. The beginning of the dream was normal. The beginning of the dream was like someone overcoming their like awkwardness and what they thought was wrong with them to find a place for themselves. It was someone creating their own space in the world and creating their own family and doing all of this. And it was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was gorgeous. And there were some other little weird bits in there that I'm kind of sort of remembering, but overall, that was the case. And then towards the end of the dream, there was this one person that we were following and supporting and rooting for and cheering for. Like, yeah, you got this. At the end of the dream, That person was there, and someone else came in, and they looked pretty normal. But then it's like their forehead unzipped, like right here. And then like the forehead got a little bigger. So the forehead, I guess, was a little bigger. Not like huge, but just a little bit. Like if I shaved my hair and like y'all saw that my forehead went up here, then maybe like there. But like, my forehead don't go that high. Anyway, um, I washed my hair today, but I didn't condition it. Don't ask me why. Anyway, so it's like this huge blue eye just like opened up. Like I don't know. Typically when I see a third eye, it's like, the size of a regular eye and it's right there. It was a huge blue eye. And the blue eye, I've seen the blue eye in dreams before. But in the vice versa on the back of the tower, you see this huge blue eye. And that's the eye of God, right? So I guess that's the gift I was talking about. So there was this huge blue eye that just opened up in this dude's forehead, and they basically ended up fighting. And we thought that the dude that we were following lost, and the dude with the eye was like, "Of course you lost, because I got this eye. I'm blessed. I was granted whatever." And there was this girl there, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you hurt him," or something. And then he went to go start attacking her. He like grabbed her by her head or something. And then that's when the dude got back up. And when that dude got back up, the other dude went down. And so then the eye popped up on his forehead. And then the dude who went down, who initially had the eye, he got back up, and the eye was gone off of his forehead. So it's like he took the eye from the other person. And again, it's like the thing, that protection, that coming from the heart, that like I was down and out and defeated, but someone that I care about is in trouble. Very like anime. The power of friendship. The power of the heart. It's all the power of the heart. Is that why it's a shonen? One of those might be heart. No, heart is like kokoro. I don't know. The power of the heart and the power of friendship and the power of love and the power of compassion. He got back up and he was ready to fight because he wasn't gonna let this girl get hurt. And that's when the other dude went down. Now I don't know if that's because he was harming an innocent or whatever. Maybe it was just part of the test. Maybe it was part of the transference of this gift. Cause then he got back up and the eye was gone, and he was talking to the other dude, and he was like, "Now that you have the eye, you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do that." But then the eye closed, and he was like, "I'm not gonna do that." And he was like, "You have the eye, you have to do it." And he was like, "No, like I have my own mind, I'm doing my own thing. Like I just went through this whole journey of finding myself, and now you're coming in asking me to be somebody completely different. Like I'm not gonna do that." And that was that, right? And then cut to many, many, many years later, and I guess I'm only talking about this because that third eye popped up on the middle of the sword, which is between the two. Oh my gosh, okay. Um hmm, 1 second. I don't I'm just gonna continue because that card is next. I guess now I can look it up. So he was like, "No, like I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna follow in your footsteps because whatever you did led you to me, and now I'm inheriting your gift, and I'm supposed to carry it forward in my way, not in your way." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of him. Yes." But then cut to many, 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 many years later, when, like I said at the beginning of the dream, he got consumed by the gift. He came out of his heart somehow. And I'm not necessarily a damsel in distress type of person, but our hero didn't rise until an innocent lady, an innocent feminine energy, was under attack by this masculine energy. And that's when this new masculine energy rose up to take down the old masculine energy. And that's when it inherited the gift on the crown. So maybe it inherited some sort of divinity, right? Where the old toxic masculine energy is going away, it loses its power and it comes into this new divine masculine energy or whatever. But after many, 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 many years, there was this girl who was doing something and she didn't want to do it because of other obligations. And then this dude came up. Now, somewhere towards the end of the dream, it's been a whole hour. That's fine. Somewhere towards the end of the dream, I was informed that this dude, it's like he had traded a younger female away to some dudes. Like he had married her off or something. He gave her off. He basically sold her in order to resolve some kind of problem. And I had like not grown up with this dude, but I had like watched him since he was a kid. And I was like, what? When did that happen? What are you talking about? And so at the end of the dream, it's like this girl was being drafted for something or something like that. And she was like, I can't go. I have a younger sister or I have like other obligations. And then he walks up and he's like, I sold off a girl who was like my sister, but she wasn't my blood sister. And look where I am. You're going to do it. And that's when, like, at this point, he was like wearing like a plate over the eye or something, I think. And the plate came out. Maybe not. Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it was the other dude who came to attack. Somebody had like this helmet, and in the helmet, it was like a plate that hid the eye. I think it could have been the other dude. It kind of doesn't matter. But the eye popped out, and because he was about to force this girl to do something, right? And the eye popped out, and then it's like the eye, like more and more and more eyes just kept popping up on his face. And that's when I was like, oh. And then that's when the other person got the reading, like, oh, he's been consumed by the gift. He's been consumed by whatever. It's time to take him out. Now, what's interesting is he said, like, oh, I'm getting a reading for a vampire. And it's a dream, right? But when I heard vampire, that's in my brain, it's like, oh, that's not good. What's a vampire but someone who steals someone else's life force to preserve their own, right? Through the blood or whatever. Or someone who infects other people through the blood. It's always through the blood, right? Through the life force. Through whatever is regulated by the heart, right? So on the physical, it's the blood, and the spiritual, it could be um, that divine energy that keeps our bodies moving or something. I don't know, girl. It's a dream, okay? He's like, I'm getting a reading for a vampire. Now, I saw him approach this girl, and I saw him talk about doing whatever to this girl that who didn't deserve it. And again, at first, I didn't even know. And he's like, yeah, I did that. So what? And I'm like, oof. And then that's when the eye popped up and the other eye started popping up. It's like, oh, consumed. And then, so I was watching the person on the outside. He was like in some kind of gear on like some wall looking like a spy or something. I don't know. Somebody in the shadows monitoring, making sure that people aren't misusing their gifts. Let's call him. He was like, oh, got another vampire. And that's when I was like, wait, he's not talking about the dude down there, is he? And then that's when somebody else was like, yup. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I woke up. I woke up before he went down to go take care of that dude, right? Um, but it's I don't know why this justice with the third eye on the sword is giving me those vibes. Because it's about balance, right? And I see on this one in particular, we have another crystal hilt. So with these two crystal hilts, it could be integrating or keeping the different parts of ourselves in balance, the light and the dark. But when out of balance, this could be using whatever this gift is to advance one's own physical experience, right? Could be monetary gain, personal gain, whatever. But these scales, when operating in this gift, these scales must remain balanced. And I don't know, I can't remember who the Egyptian god or goddess is, the one who, when after we die, they weigh our heart against the feather. And if our heart is heavier than that feather, we get sent to a bad place. It's not Bastet, is it? Because I know on the vice versa, on the back, in the vice versa tarot, on the back of the justice card, you see on the back of the throne is etched the symbol for this Egyptian goddess. It may be Bastet. Let's see. Hey Siri, who is Bastet?
Janiclus Besti is a defender for Emin.
Besti. Let's see. Bastet, I believe is how you spell it.
Here's some information.
Bastet, or Bast, was a goddess of ancient Egyptian religion, worshipped as early as the Second Dynasty. Her name also is rendered as B''SST or Bast, Ubaste or Basset. In ancient Greek religion, she was known as Ailuros. Spouse was Ptah, children was Mahes, parents Isis, sibling Horus, Isis and Bernie. Horus and on her. All right. They didn't give me what I wanted, so we're going to click through to the Wikipedia and we're going to see. I'm going to flip these colors. Bastet or Bast? Let's see. Oh, in ancient Greek religion, she was known as Ailuros, which makes more sense. Which means cat. She's a cat goddess. Goddess of protection, cats, perfume, ointment, fertility, pregnancy, children, music, the arts, and warfare. Oof. How'd she get warfare in there? Bastet in her late form of a cat-headed woman rather than a lioness. So it wasn't her. Let's see. Originally as a lioness goddess, a role shared by other deities such as Sekhmet. Eventually, Bastet and Sekhmet were characterized as two aspects of the same goddess, with Sekhmet representing the powerful warrior and protector aspect, and Bastet, who increasingly was depicted as a cat representing a gentler aspect. Role in ancient Egypt. Let's see what this is. So it probably isn't her. But I just heard somebody talk about it like recently. Daughter of Ra and Isis, consort of Ptah, protector of Lower Egypt, defender of the king, consequently of the sun god Ra, along with other deities such as Hathor, Sekhmet, and Isis. Bastet was associated with the eye of Ra, speaking of eyes, so I'm not too far off. She has been depicted as fighting the evil snake named Apep, an enemy of Ra, which is interesting because I think I've also recently seen it was Isis, Apep, and Osiris. Apep being the and then there we go, the snake, the evil snake, Apep. I guess it could also be a gift and a power or a sort of dominion that has been held and kept secret um, by lower forces. But now, as we're beginning to change hands, it's like that dominion and that power is being not stripped away, but it is being stripped away and it's being distributed, but to those who are worthy of it, right? Because we don't need. It's like we ain't changing out the old guard to replace them with ones of the same sort of. Um, why, like, it doesn't make sense to elect politicians who, it's like we have corrupt politicians, we want change, and then we elect more corrupt politicians expecting any kind of change. Like, if you elect corrupt, expect corruption, right? So if you want change, then elect something that's different, right? Give the power to something different, and then it's kind of sort of that. In addition to her solar connection, sometimes she was called Eye of the Moon. Bastet was also a goddess of pregnancy and childbirth, possibly because of the fertility of the domestic cat. So it isn't Bastet, but Bastet was on the back of the Justice card. Wow, Bastet was also depicted as the goddess of protection against contagious diseases and evil spirits. I didn't know Bastet was protecting against contagious diseases. Girl, we might have to we might have to get us a little Bastet and put her on. Do a sigil of Bastet on your face mask when you go to the store, y'all. Let me stop. Egyptian god, judgment, heart, scale, feather. And it's not Anubis. Egyptian god, judgment, heart, scale, feather. In the weighing of the heart of the deceased, not diseased. The heart of the deceased is weighed in the scale against the feather of the goddess Ma'at, who personifies order, truth, and what is right. Spell 30 was often inscribed on heart scarabs that were placed with the deceased. In Egyptian religion, the heart was the key to the afterlife. The Book of Death. Oh, the Feather of Truth. Okay, give me 1 second, y'all. I know we're really going there. Maybe it's Mott or Ma'at. Um. To the Egyptians, the heart, or Ib, rather than the brain, was the source of human wisdom and the center of emotions and memory. Because of its apparent links with intellect, personality, and memory, it was considered the most important of the internal organs. It could reveal the person's true character even after death. So the belief went, so the belief went, and therefore the heart was left in the deceased's body during mummification. Wow, I didn't know that. They left the heart in the body. Okay. In the weighing of the heart right, the heart of the deceased is weighed in the scale against the feather of the goddess Mat, who personifies order, truth, and what is right. Spell 30 was often inscribed on heart scarabs that were placed with the deceased. The spell appeals to the heart not to weigh down the balance or testify against the deceased to the keeper of the balance. Girl! Part of the spell gives instructions for making the heart scarab. Make a scarab of nephrite adorned with gold and put within a man's breast, and perform for him the ceremony of opening the mouth, the scarab being anointed with myrrh. In Egyptian religion, the heart was the key to the afterlife. It was conceived as surviving death in the netherworld, where it gave evidence for or against its possessor. It was thought that the heart was examined by Anubis and the deities during the weighing of the heart ceremony. If the heart weighed more than the feather of Mot, it was immediately consumed by the monster Ammit. So I guess it was Anubis. Hmm. So they really putting this little heart scarab in people, this little heart beetle in people, being like, "Don't confess against yourself." What's that? It's I think it's in the Bill of Rights. Maybe not. Maybe not. What is that? It's like you have a right to not self-incriminate or something like that, or maybe not. I don't know. It's messed up. So I feel like if you giving somebody a little heart scarab, it's like, what you need this little heart scarab for? What you not want your heart to say? Ooh, somebody don't want their heart to say that they love you. I love you and I messed up. I love you the whole time, but I couldn't say nothing. Let me stop. So here we have justice. We have the solid moon and this moon. We have the third eye on the sword. We got this, so it's giving me that Mot Anubis energy. But it's like we can no longer wait until the afterlife to weigh someone's heart. It's like after you get this gift, whatever this gift is, your heart is constantly weighed. Constantly. Because it's like if you are powerful enough of a manifester, right? And let's say you get cut off in traffic and you get road rage and then there's an accident right in front of you, right? And let's say it happens every time you get road rage. You notice that whoever you get upset with on the road, something happens to them. We ain't got time for that. Right? No, it's okay to be upset and to be like, wow, I can't believe they like really cut me off like that. What up, bleep bleep, right? But like to take it to the point where you are like manifesting tragedy in someone else's life, I don't know. I can't say it's bad. I mean, like here, the title card came out. That's why I was like, ooh, like what? So for me as the reader, the title card means like stop digging. But I can read what the bone is. The skull is destruction, death, and rebirth. Bones are physical body feeling grounded. Physical body feeling grounding in earth. So there was a huge bone running behind one of the cards last time. Was it the Four of Swords? It might have been the Four of Swords. It was two swords crossed over the bone. So that could have been something. It's grounding and feeling and earth. But the bone was fractured. I think all the bones are fractured in this deck, or at least all the ones I've seen are fractured, or most of them. And the bone was as big as the swords, if not bigger. And so it's like from the position and from the space you're in, from whatever earth you're standing on, from whatever space you're grounded in, we're being asked to come out of that and to come into something brand new. And of course, it's difficult, especially if you're already grounded in that. Like we're trying to uproot ourselves and replant ourselves somewhere else. But if you look at the environment around you, it shouldn't be. It should motivate you a little bit. Yeah, skull is destruction, death, and rebirth. But that rebirth is being stalled by all of this Three of Swords energy that's piercing the crown. And when the Three of Swords energy pierces your crown, it creates a filter on the things that you receive. And so it's like you, in some ways, maybe only see the worst of what's going to happen. And since you only see with the Three Swords piercing the eyes, yeah, you only see the worst of what's going to happen. And since you only see the worst, it prevents you or it makes it more difficult to come out of those old spaces, right? There's something within the self that remains unresolved, some kind of negative attachment. Um, and maybe the title card just came out so I can clarify that up really quick and it's not telling me to stop because I already have this card right here. And the card right here is the Eight of Wands in reverse. The only card upright was Justice. Everything else is in reverse. Eight of Wands in reverse. So it's like, wait, we just saw the Four Swords again, didn't we? No, we didn't. I thought we did, but it was Justice. It was the Lovers. So the Nine of Swords in reverse, the Six of Swords in reverse, the Lovers in reverse, Justice upright, the title card in reverse, and the Eight of Wands in reverse. With the title card and the Eight of Wands in reverse, it's like I don't even think we necessarily fully know what's coming for us. All we know is that something should be happening. But with the Nine of Swords and the Six of Swords in reverse, I feel like we're not even in alignment with that. And with Justice upright, I feel like Justice upright is asking us to, like, regardless of if we know what's coming next or not, if we're in a space that we don't want to be in, why are we attached to it? Why are you so attached to misery? Why are you so attached to your heartache that you would prevent yourself from experiencing, seeing, knowing that better actually lies ahead for you? Because it's kind of sort of giving me the energy of like, if we don't really think that something better is coming, then we compromise and we settle, and we may be going back to toxic situations, or we may be entertaining toxic situations because whatever is supposed to come is taking too long, or we don't fully truly believe it's coming, or whatever. Blah 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 blah. Right? But in all, you do come from the heart. If you're coming from the heart, you won't go wrong. And be a little less compromising to yourself. but maybe not. Oh, that was so quick, girl. That's way too much. Last card is who this? Ooh, two cards. Ooh, two cards. Bottom of the deck is the Ace of Coins. Here's this brand new seed. Like, we're literally trying to bring you into a whole new reality. Can y'all see this? Into a whole new reality. If I come back, y'all can see a little bit more. If I tilt it this way, that's too much glare. Anyway, there's a seed in there. There we go. With all this wonderful stuff around it. And then the hand at the bottom. We're trying to bring you into something new. And like I said recently, it's like you're trying to take old energy into new spaces, and it's going to it clogs it up. There's something that needs to be spoken to really put distance between something. Something that needs to be spoken, something that needs to be cleared up, because it's like as long as this remains whatever this is, and I don't know. It either needs to be spoken or it needs to be thought of in a different way. Because whatever it is, it's blocking your movement. It's hindering your progress. You're going to be stuck in that Four of Swords in reverse. It's like like you think you're in this moment of waiting until divine timing happens and magically everything fixes itself. And it's like, yes, you are in a moment of waiting, but it's like the time that you're putting in isn't counting because you're not doing whatever you're supposed to be doing in this moment of waiting, right? Now, when that Four of Swords turns back upright, that's when the clock resumes, right? And again, it's like every tick of the clock is related to a thought or an action aligned with the destination that we want or the one that we need to get to. And once we've had enough of that, and it's also linked to healing and stuff like that, then that's when the timer goes off and it's like, okay, time to feed the person the next blessing or disperse the next whatever. All the swords were in reverse today, by the way, besides justice, which is interesting. All the swords were in reverse today. So something you're not doing, something you're not saying, or something you're just not thinking about right. You're not approaching it the right way. I don't know. Oh, the Nine of Coins. I see the Nine of Coins in this deck so much. The Nine of Coins. Oh, it's in reverse. The Nine of Coins with the pillar in reverse. Whatever independent attitude you have right now, or whatever like you don't need from other people, however you think you're sort of self-sufficient. And this energy, the Nine of Pentacles energy, came out yesterday as something that we need to release. Because like you being in this energy is keeping this pillar in reverse, right? You can't create wholly from a closed heart. And it feels like this Nine of Pentacles energy, it may be self-preserving, right? And this deck is the reason why I was like, crystals can be like pieces of the self or the physical body, not just wealth and abundance. And so it's like, yeah, you may be focused on the money, you may be focused on the stability that it'll give you, and you may be focused on, keeping certain pieces of yourself intact. But I feel like you're not whole until you come into that Ten of Pentacles, right? It's like there's something in you that you're refusing to let live or breathe or see the light of day. And that is what's keeping you held up. And I'm actually going to read from the book for these last two. I'm going to read the Nine of Pentacles upright, even though I feel like it's more of a reversed energy. But we'll see. The Nine of Coins, darling. What coins, darling? Not pentacles. Okay, sorry. There's the Eight of Coins, the Nine of Coins. We're going to read the whole entry. upright and reversed. Nine of Coins is rewards and independence. This card is all about enjoying the success you have won. The harvest has come, stability has been secured, and you are living in an abundance what? That most likely feels very new. This has been a long road for you, and you have worked very hard. Most importantly, independence has been won. You have likely achieved this status with limited outside help, but don't let it go to your head. It is important that you continue to connect with others and focus on your relationships and communities. I think that's the part we're missing out on. So I don't think I have to read it in reverse. I think we've won this independence, whatever fight that we had to do on our own, we've done it. But now it's time for us to come back together. It's time for us to reconnect to other people. It's time for us to open up to let people in, because that's what's going to be that's going to be what gets us to that 10 of Pentacles, right? It's like you reach the 9 journey, and in the Cups journey as well, and all of them to a certain extent. It's like the 9 is you on your own, and then with the 10, it's an integration from the outside. Could be integration with Source or the Divine, or it could be incorporating someone else, a physical person, into the picture, right? Now, the only thing I would say is the 9 of Swords, but with that 10th sword, it could be something from the outside that, like, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? When it comes to wands, a lot of times when we see the 10 of wands, it's like, we're overburdened, or some interpretations of the 10 of wands is we're overburdened, and partially because of the things that we pick up from other people, right? Things that we're carrying that we don't need to be carrying. With the 9 and the 10 of Cups and Pentacles, it's like with the 9 of Pentacles, we are solid within our own selves, but then we incorporate someone else into that, and they bring that last pentacle that then sort of establishes the dynasty, right? The 9 of Pentacles is you having enough abundance to take care of yourself and be comfortable. The 10 of Pentacles is you having enough abundance to take care of yourself, your family, your community, and those who will come after you, right? It's the legacy, it's the dynasty, it's the inheritance, right? That someone else will get. It's you building the inheritance for someone else. The 9 of Cups is you being, it's the card of wishes granted, but it's you being emotionally fulfilled within yourself, and that self love that you have for yourself that then allows that wish to be granted, of that last cup to come in a way that keeps you full, keeps them full, and makes the both of you and everyone involved fuller. It fills you beyond your capacity within yourself, right? And I already talked about the Swords and the Wands. Okay, so I think that's the part we're missing out on. And there's like this weird shadow right at the end of the words. So let's start this again up here. Right here. This has been a long road for you, and you have worked very hard. Most importantly, independence has been won. You have likely achieved this status with limited outside help, but don't let it go to your head. It is important that you continue to connect with others and focus on your relationships and communities. There is no point in an abundance if you cannot share it or serve others. There's no point in abundance if you can't share it or serve others with it. If this doesn't quite hit home, trust that this success is on the way. Also, be aware that abundance does not strictly mean material wealth. You are/will be most likely experiencing joy and abundance in all aspects of your life. You may hit an unexpected bump in the road, or, oh, that's the reverse. But I'll keep reading it, I guess, because I didn't see it. You may hit an unexpected bump in the road, or projects may have fallen by the wayside. And that's where I'll end it, because I realized. So It's like maybe on your road to independence, it's like you could have hit a bump where I said something to somebody, and I'm going to read the Empress in reverse. I said something to somebody, and I was like, in life, it's like life is like a journey. It's like the hero's quest. But we all come upon certain times where we have to do it for ourselves, right? It's like that part of the story where the hero, the heroine, the heroine, they take everything that they've learned before and they face an enemy on their own. They don't have their friends there, but in their heart they're still connected, right? And so sometimes that's why separation happens, because it's like other people instill things in us, other people give us love and support, but there comes a point in time where we have to go through something on our own, and that's where we achieve the most growth. But after we go through that thing on our own, it may or may not be the case that we come back together, right? That reunion happens after the separation. Now, if you've gone through and faced your challenge and they've gone through and faced their challenge, then it's okay for you two to come back, for you two to come back and together. And right, and this doesn't have to be romantic. It can be friends, it can be a job, it can be whatever, right? You had to go your separate ways and go through something on your own and dig yourself out of a pit or face your own enemy to claim fully yourself and your strength. And then after that phase, you reunite, you come back together, and then you get your happily ever after, right? Like with the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy had to face the Wicked Witch of the West on her own, didn't she? And then she came back together with the Crow, the Tin Man, and the Lion. And then they went to Oz, or back to Oz, and then she went home. And that's what that Nine of Pentacles energy has given me. It's like, well, that's another version of what it's given me besides what I've already said, right? The pieces of the self that we need to integrate, and we find those pieces of ourselves. It's going to be part of the solo journey is when we find those pieces of ourselves, right? Um, and so the Nine of Pentacles can speak to that unique part of the journey that is the part that we do on our own, or it could like speak of that situation, or it could be within that situation, if that makes any sense. But anyway, after we come out of that, to get to the 10, we have to come back together, right? And it said, don't neglect your community or your relationships. And you may not have had a lot of help from the outside, but it was intentional. If you had a lot of help from the outside, you wouldn't have grown. You would have continued to depend or rely on other people to do it for you. And if you are in the space of heavily depending or relying on other people to do your work for you, um, you're not going to get to the end of that Nine of Pentacles to then claim the 10. You might. I don't like speaking in absolutes. So you might, but there's something in this 9 for you to gain on your own. And no one else can get it for you, right? No one else can reach into your soul and integrate those parts with your psyche for you, right? They may be able to highlight some things, but that integration, we got to do it on our own. So the pillar in reverse. The pillar reversed. Okay. The pillar reversed indicates that there is a stagnancy. You may be feeling stuck and unable to bring life with what? To bring life forth through you. Ooh. You may be feeling stuck and unable to bring life forth through you. Try not to focus on what you are not doing right now, but on creating a foundation of confidence and self love. It may also indicate that you are doubting your ability to hold so much. To what? Oh, it may also indicate that you are doubting your ability to hold so much. Try to ground yourself in the coming days and focus on your self care. This will help you fill your well and expand your container. This is so, girl, I'm not gonna keep complaining. I'm gonna send them an email. I'm gonna be like, hey, can I get like a PDF sent at the guidebook so I can read it on my phone? It would be much easier. Because then it's like some of these they print like really close to the thing. And so depending on how I hold it, it's like a shadow right there that makes it a little difficult to read. Everything, not everything. I need to quit. I need to really focus on that. Start speaking it how I want it, but also able to account for what it is. That's my challenge. Not my challenge. It is my next great task to unlock my next great ability. So yeah, that's what I got. It's like with the Nine of Swords, with everything that's been spoken today, especially with that journey, with the solo part, it may have been difficult. And speaking from personal experience, there comes a time sometimes when you hit a solo journey and it's like before you get through the journey completely, you start to think of maybe those who you have lost contact with or those who you have yet to come back together with. And you're like, how do I integrate this person into my life? Because like my life is so different than what it was before. Or it's like, how do I reintegrate this person into the space that I've created when they haven't been in this space and it's shifted and changed so drastically? Or how am I going to be reintegrated into that space when it feels like the place that I had I no longer have? It comes a moment in time where you question reintegration or how you're going to integrate with your environment or with another environment. Oh, whoo, girl! I was like, don't tell me this is a card on the floor. I've had enough. It is a card on the floor, but it's not. It's one of these. Y'all see that? It's a Mickey. Y'all probably can't see it, but it got my name and numbers on there, so that's fine. It's a Mickey Mouse debit card. I was like, Mickey Mouse, sure, why not? I'm not a huge Disney fan, but when I saw Mickey Mouse, I was like, okay. I have it here to keep my laptop from sliding all the way down off this thing when I prop it up. Um, but yeah, it comes a moment when you're like, I don't know how I'm going to reintegrate, or I don't know what reintegration is going to look like. And excuse me, when you're still in that space, it isn't necessarily for you to know. You may not even be done growing, and that or whatever space you're in may not be done growing or preparing itself for your entry or re-entry. Um, and part of the fun is kind of sort of figuring it out again, right? At least that's my view. Um, and again, it's like there comes a certain time when we need to focus more on ourselves than other people. And, you know, all that stuff, all that stuff. It is what it is. All right. Thank y'all for coming in today. I'll make this quick. I want to pull a Magical Dimensions Oracle card and Activator. Because I didn't do it yesterday. And I was like, I want to pull an Oracle card. So we're going to do that. We're going to leave it off with a Magical Dimensions Oracle card and Activator. If I can get this out. Because it's already been like an hour and a half. Hey, Siri, what time is it? Really? Oh, I was like, where's my phone? It's 11:54. Girl. Opportunities are a knocking, y'all. Knocking in ways that I didn't even expect. Now, low key, I got a call from somebody yesterday and I was going to let her go to voicemail, but I remembered that somebody told me that it says my voicemail box is full. So I was like, man, I can't let her go to voicemail. So I just answered the phone and she was like, hey, how you doing? I was like, oh, I'm good. How are you? And she was like, hey, well, listen up. Today, I got informed that I'm going to be having a little meeting with somebody tomorrow. And I know that you's looking for employment, so I need you to send me everything, your goals, your interest areas, the type of jobs you're looking for, the type of jobs you've applied for. You know, you said that you went to this because I went to a workshop the other day about employment, applying for employment through this specific system. She was like, make sure you mention that. Also, if you're looking for employment in other states as well. And I was like, huh? Because at first I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, I'm kind of sort of not looking to stay in Illinois, low key. Because it's like there's a whole world out there, right? And there's a whole country out there. And I don't know. Illinois is just, at least this part of Illinois is not where I want to be right now. I'm going to go somewhere new. And when she was like other states, that's when I was like, interesting. Tell me more. Say less. And like I just emailed, was it the day before yesterday? I just emailed that one dude, or I didn't tell y'all, but I've been sending emails and I've been a little bit more active in the process lately. And before I got more active, when it was coming back to my mind to get more active, I started getting like more notifications on LinkedIn. It's like, you popped up in this many searches this week. You popped up in this many searches this week. And the number keeps going up. And I'm like, oof. And that's why I was like, you know, the universe is kind of sort of doing something right now. And then it came back to my mind to email that dude, and I was gonna procrastinate and self-sabotage, but I was like, you know what? I'll just start the email and the words will come. And they did, and I sent it. And I got off the phone with her, and I was gonna procrastinate because she was like, you know, I need this by tomorrow morning, like 9 o'clock. I don't want to have to call you tomorrow, upset with you because you ain't sent me this information. And I got off the phone with her. I was like, I'm gonna send it right now. I'm gonna send it right now. And I was kind of sort of just talking a little bit, kind of sort of just talking a little bit, kind of sort of just talking to get her off the phone. But then I was like, I got off the phone and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna send it right now. So I pulled out the Note app on my phone. I put everything in there, and then I copy and pasted it to an email, and I sent it. And she was like, "Thank you for the timely reply, because I am letting the universe know, girl. I see you moving, and I'm not gonna hold this up anymore." Because I feel it within me that it's moving. And I know that to keep it moving, I got to do something. So I'm going to do what I got to do to keep the ball rolling. And it seems like this ball is rolling in a direction that I may like. So I'm excited about that. I'm very excited about that, actually. And I've also noticed that I experience the most friction. I experience the most contention, tension, and friction in my extremely local environment when I get a little too complacent where I am, or when I stop striving for whatever, right? Or just when I need a reminder that this is not where you stay. Then I get a little bit of friction. It's like, okay. And I've also noticed that when I'm doing whatever I need to be doing, I don't encounter as much friction because I don't need to, right? But yes, very excited about that. Things are moving, and hopefully I'll be moving here sometime soon too. Because girl, this it was cute, and it's already the middle of July. Like, people are gonna start putting out mid months. Chris Anthony just posted his first one. It was Sagittarius, but I'm like, man, is it really almost August? Where is this year going? Where is this year going? I'm losing. Like, I got until December. And at first I was like, yeah, I'll be done by like the beginning of July. Yeah, at first it was like, yeah, I'll be done by like April, May. Then it was like, I'll be done by like end of June, beginning of July. Now it's almost August. I've effectively done nothing because the program takes so long to run. It's like I literally waited for like maybe an hour yesterday trying to see if the program would run, because I only needed to run one time, and then I can save the results and just write up the report. And I thought I took enough out of it that it would run, but I'm really gonna have to like do it in parts and parts and parts, which is fine because I've already talked to my professor. He was like, if that's what you got to do, then it's fine, right? We'll work around it. Just get this mess done so you can get that degree and so you can move on. Like, I literally still have only 2 classes left. I'm 97% complete. Girl. And if I would have started with the other class, I would have been done by now, because that one doesn't depend on this program as much. So I would have been able to just like do the work and be like, oh, right. Anyway, that's not the point, because the point is things are still moving and we're never really behind as long as these are coming out so quick. We're never really behind as long as we're dedicated to moving forward. It's like we can be caught up just like that, right? And so when that happens, if there was a lag period, there may be like a rush. But as long as we are grounded and centered and up to the challenge, we can catch up and handle it as is this number 28? No, it's number 12. As we can handle it as it comes up. So the card that came out is Emotional Freedom. The card at the bottom of the deck is Dreamscape. Number 10, Dreamscape is dream work, subconscious, and imagination. Maybe this Dreamscape card is confirmation that something in that dream was worth sharing, potentially. At first, I wasn't going to talk about it. There's some dreams I don't talk about. Some dreams I do talk about. The ones that I do talk about, there's a whole class of things happening in my dreams right now that I'm not talking about, but it's because it feels a lot more personal, right? Now, there are some things like that one dream I had where it's like I might be in the dream, but it may feel like more collective. Yeah. Mm, no. No. Mama might have been. Was I expecting a package? Maybe. Ooh, girl, did a gift just arrive in the mail? Emotional freedom, number 12. Emotional freedom is vulnerability, flowing, and rebalancing. I feel like this emotional freedom is coming out after that Nine of Pentacles, after that solo journey. Emphasis on rebalancing, emphasis on flowing, emphasis on vulnerability, because that's the only way we really know how we fit in. And so you have to be vulnerable when you rebalance, because if you're not, it's like you're going to recenter yourself on a point that isn't necessarily accurate to where you are. So there's a huge vulnerability right now is huge. Compassion is huge. Vulnerability is not necessarily oversharing. Vulnerability ain't telling everybody all your business. Vulnerability is like YouTube, or look up Brene Brown, Brene Brown, vulnerability, and she did it really well. Because she was like, some people think that vulnerability is just crying in front of people and doing this and doing that, and that's not always the case, right? And it was interesting. Okay, I'm gonna shut this down here. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna get me something to eat. I'm gonna get to work today. I found myself. Oh, it's about noon. Oh, I'm not too late. It's like noon 03. Okay, yeah, this is the little pattern that I found. Just kind of sort of found myself in, and it's working. It wasn't necessarily intentional. It just happened one day, and I've been sticking to it. So I'll catch y'all later. I didn't want to be live this long because I wanted to catch my boy before I get to work, but I can listen and work today because I'm running this program. So I'm going to cut the program down, run it in sections. So hopefully it can run through and complete. And then so yeah, I have some time in between, and then I can get to the next assignment and boom, bada bing, bada boom, bang, it's done. All right. I'll catch y'all later. Have a good whatever. Whenever you see this, I'm sending y'all all the love and light. Also, just doing my part to try to make healing and growing in the days that we're in a little bit easier for all of us. Excuse me, which is interesting because I thought I was supposed to be focusing on me, and I am. But it's like, how we run like programs in the back of our minds sometimes? Like we talk about that, like background programming and stuff. It's like I'm running like collective healing programs in the back of my mind. And there's a certain part of my energy that I have tied to basically the center of the earth just to do all kinds of stuff down there. It's whatever. It's woo. Right? But every little bit helps, And when you put your mind to it and when you put your energy into it, the spirit works and the spirit moves. So I'll catch y'all later. And I'm going to go see if I actually got a surprise today.